Welcome to Field Service Office Hours. My name is Leigh-Anne Nugent, and I am here to help you learn Salesforce Field Service. I am joined with Kelsea today. Hey, Kelsea, welcome. We are going to dig into shifts. But before we do, I just wanted to tie up a couple of things from last week's call. We talked about somebody wanted to have a service report launch from a work order or use the work order template. And so we logged a case with Salesforce, and I finally had a chance to get on a call with Salesforce, and it is not supported, which sucks. Hey, Varsha. Today we're going to talk about, I'm just tying up from last week. Remember we talked about the service reports and them being launched from a work order template versus a service appointment template. So I logged a case with Salesforce, and I finally got on with support, and they said it's actually not supported. So I wanted to walk through what that is and thought you all might enjoy that. And then Kelsea had some questions about shifts. So thought today would be a crash course in shift management. Hey, Bruce, welcome.
Howdy.
All right. So first things first, I'm going to walk through the pain point that we found with service reports. Okay, I'm going to share my screen. So the use case was we want to be able to launch a service report using the work order template. I always thought that if you put the service report related list on the work order and not on the service appointment, then you would be able to launch the work order service report template. But according to like our community and Steve Hub confirmed it in 2023, that's not how it works. And that if you wanted to set a default, it would have to be a flow. I don't know if anybody remembers that, of Bruce or Varsha, but like, I always thought that we could do that.
Yeah. Is this also pre-doc builder or post-doc?
This is just service reports. So yes, for sure, pre-doc builder. Yeah.
Yeah, that's something that I have experienced too. I actually rely on work types if I can to standardize the template, but it really depends on. In the mobile app, I have seen you can really only generate it if it's tied to the report to get the template that you want. Otherwise, it'll keep defaulting you to the standard template that comes out of the box, right? So if you have just one template, you are still fine. But if you have different templates, which would vary, it won't fit your purpose. But I see that the document builder is something that is very versatile because in the mobile app, it allows the users to switch from the context of work order versus appointments. I really like it, but I did see some limitations there too. You can just select one and they are choosing which template they are going to use. I'm not sure if that's something that was overcome, but that was my observation.
Now, so if you wanted to, this is the long way. If I wanted to launch the work order template, I have to go to the service appointment details page, then click on the parent record, and then generate the service report, which I've already done here, which sucks, but I can just show you here. Right now, I've got the work order service report template, which is just so annoying. What a terrible workaround. So the other possible workaround is to create a field service mobile flow to set the service report template. But yeah, I thought that was sucky. And then, I was going to go forward with the service doc piece. But if you wanted only the work order template as the default, it always starts off as a service appointment template. And if you want to choose, if you want to change it to the work order, you have to change it to the work order. You can't just say, I always want the work order template.
Yeah, I learned something new today for sure, Leigh-Anne.
Yeah, it's one of those things. And so we can look at all kinds of flow hacks in another session, but I was presented with a how do we use shifts question, and I would rather dig into that if y'all are okay with that. Digging in the crates with one of our fellow partner advisory board members, he shared with me this old 4-day training deck that I think Simon was the person who created this training guide. And this was back in the day when accredited field service was a thing. I don't know, Bruce, if you remember that, but this was back in the day, way back in the day. So we resurrected this, and we being the partner advisory board, because we want to build a fresh implementation expert workshop in partner learning camp. And it's got to be, the request was that it was centralized around enhanced scheduling and optimization. So what would be the requirements of setting up and getting ready for enhanced scheduling and optimization? And one of the things was the various ways of tracking availability. So of course, happy path, we would just start with day one would be setting up the baseline using operating hours. And then day two would be other kind of nuances that people could use for availability management, the various work rules, the various work types like multi-day versus complex work and bundling. So would be day two is the advanced stuff. We dug up this stuff and I thought, let's just validate and perfect our current knowledge of shift-based, because Kelsea needs some support with shifts. So that's what we're going to do today. General high level availability is what defines a service resource's hours that they can be scheduled. So we've got operating hours. Oh, am I going backwards here? Weird. We've got operating hours as a default, which we need across the board. We always need an operating hours assigned to a service territory, because that defines the time zone that the appointment is scheduled in, or the time zone, the scheduling. What is the context? The time zone that appointment is scheduled in. Okay, so operating hours assigned to the territory defines the time zone. Then we have the time slots. Time slots for book appointment is defined at the managed package level. So meaning to say, when you are in field service settings, we will have a defined operating hours that shows the time slots. So if you want to offer 2-hour slots, 4-hour slots, or 1-hour slots, that would be defined in your scheduling. In your global actions appointment booking, your default operating hours. So this defines the time slots being presented to whoever is using book appointment. Okay. The availability of the technician, though, is not really tied to this. So the availability of the technician is defined at the service resource level or their service territory member level. So actually at the territory member. So if there is no operating hours on the territory member, then it grabs the operating hours of the territory itself. So field availability San Francisco has time slots. When you are assigning operating hours to resources, you don't need time slots. One long operating hours for their shift or whatever their available hours are is enough, because this doesn't define the slots, right? The other appointment count, the other operating hours does.
Yeah, I guess it's probably worth
Yeah,
saying as well that the op hours, like if you scroll down just a little, it's a pattern across 7 days, right? every week will look like this. So if this territory has these op hours, it's because you define it that way, it's 9 to 6 every day. You don't have to, but that will stamp this week, next week, forever, that these are the active op hours assigned to that territory or that territory member. And a use case for, not to tip ahead, but a use case for shifts, if you've got any sort of self-service scheduling and you show people a calendar and it's not controlled, you don't say, I'm only going to show the next 6 weeks and that's it. If someone can schedule next Christmas and those resources have those op hours you just showed, and Christmas is on a Monday and Monday's available, someone could schedule an appointment Christmas Day, and maybe you don't want that to happen. That may be a compelling reason at first to say, I don't want to make absences 2 months, 3 months from now and block out the calendar that way. How do I only open up when I want people to be able to use? That might be a use case to say shift instead of everyone's wide open forever.
Also, if you don't know who's going to be available, you are scheduling like 2 weeks at a time, a month in advance, for example. Like I'm thinking about when I worked at Starbucks, right? Like I didn't know what my schedule looked like. I knew it 2 weeks in advance. So if it's that kind of work environment where you've got rotating shifts, you could also have a scenario where you've got people who work overtime or weekends. So again, its shifts are designed to be more dynamic. So when we're first launching field service, the best recommendation is to keep things as simple as possible. Just start with operating hours. It's like the store is open 9 to 5, right? We are only available to book service between 9 to 5 or 7 to 4 or whatever that is, right? Or you could have a morning from 6 o'clock until 2 o'clock and then 11 o'clock to 7 o'clock, something like that. You could have those two. Yes, right? From an operating hours perspective, if you wanted to.
I think the other thing to tip the hat to ESO a little bit. So that pattern we just talked about this week, all weeks look like this, but ESO allows holidays. There you go.
Yep.
So if you've set them up in setup, maybe every year on December 25th is Christmas, in ESO, you can relate the holidays that exist in setup in your org to that op hours. You'd have to do it for all the op hours, but having done that once, if every year this holiday occurs with whatever the recurrence is set up in your org, you do get to block out holidays that way. There are some recurrences you can't really demonstrate that easily. Like Thanksgiving Day, I think is a normal thing. But if you try to do the day after Thanksgiving, there's no way in here to say the Friday after the fourth Thursday in November. So you may have to add the Friday after Thanksgiving, just not recurring, but add it once each year. And that's a little bit of maintenance. But then again, add them to the op hours so they're blocked out or not available by default when that day occurs. You can open it up with shifts though, too. That's another powerful thing.
So just to make sure I'm going down the right path in what the scenario is, these guys offer support to a bunch of their different customers 24/7, 365, and they've got on-call shifts. This is like the right way to handle that. Okay.
Yeah. If they are available all the time, yeah, I would have. Okay. So wait, I don't know if I heard that properly. Say it one more time. They're available 365, 7 days a week, 24 hours, 365.
Yeah. But
Okay.
There's on-call shifts, right? Not every employee is available all of the time. They have.
Right. Okay. Correct. Okay. So then from that perspective, so they're available all the time. So your primary appointments calendar, let's just open that up. Bear with me. That would be 24/7.
Yeah.
And that would be repeating. So yeah, it's ultimately you'll get, and then you could do 1 hour shifts. there's like some kooky thing where you actually do have to leave a 5-minute gap in between. So at the end of the day or something like that. So the very last shift, it has to go until 11:55. So double check to see if you have that in your org, in your operating hours. It's a weird, kooky thing. And I don't have operating hours here. Awesome. So now let's get into shifts. Okay. So here's primary. Let's just see, right? Okay. So here's the kooky thing in action 24/7, except we don't work Sundays. So if I wanted, and again, this is not how I would set it up. This is not my work. I would, if I'm offering slots, like my preference is 1 hour, 2 hour, probably 2 hours is the smallest I would offer. But yeah, if you want to offer it on the hour, you can totally do it. But the more time slots that you offer, the slower the book appointment load time is, because it's considering a lot of time slots for a lot of resources in that territory. So know that the number of time slots can impact performance. Cool. Yeah, so I probably wouldn't set this up this way. I would split it up. If I'm offering slots. If I'm not offering slots, then it doesn't really matter. Okay, now, when we're setting up shifts, let's see if I have one. I've got a lot of operating hours here. Do you see anything that says shifts? No. We will always need to have operating hours. So what does that mean? This one's with designated work. I'm going to clone this and see what happens. Okay, so we've got the right time zone at save. And okay, good. No time slots are available. So when this is the case, we have to assign this operating hours to the resource that requires shifts. So what will happen to our carry long? Eventually you'll see this all go white. Maybe I have to refresh, or maybe I got to count to 10 Mississippis. Yeah, go ahead.
Won't it all go gray? Because he'll have
What did I say? Did I
You
say
said
white?
Yeah. He'll have no. So to make the stuff you already scheduled make sense, you might have wanted to make an existing membership end on the day after he had regularly scheduled work and begin and have the new op hours with, say, the 18th or something. So you could demonstrate when he had availability due to op hours and ongoing now that he has none due to op hours. But yeah,
that's a great point.
Going gray.
He's going to go gray. Thank you. Because that's my dyslexia in action. Whenever it's one or the other, I always choose the other. So that just happens. Okay, so here we go. So he's all gray now. Okay, so how do we open up his availability? So shifts can be a little bit of a trick because there's so much data. So let's look at shifts. Shifts have, okay, let's look at all shifts. This cute little schedule view. This is nice to see, right? That, okay, you could see all of the territories. The other piece that you could leverage is shift templates and shift patterns. Let's see, am I going to have this? Okay, good. And then I'm going to just get shift patterns. And here's where, again, you're going to start seeing a bit of the dyslexia happen again. I can never remember, do I start with a template or do I start with a pattern? So this is where you just tinker around and click some buttons to see what happens. or read the documentation, which we all know I hate to do. So shift templates. Oh, did shift patterns not show up? That sucks. Pin tab. Now I have to go get it again. Okay. I want to just show you the whole thing. I didn't create a for it. Okay. So let's just say that we've got this weekend shift template. It has a collection of patterns. Oh, I selected correctly. It has a collection of patterns. And when we think about a pattern, this is the day position. Is zero, is there a zero, or is it just one is Sunday or Monday?
From me playing with it, I think Monday is one, because I was like, that's bizarre. And then I realized every other country.
Fair enough. Okay, perfect. So it's probably right here, patterns. Yeah, so day one would be Monday. Gotcha. Do we actually have it written out? No, it doesn't say. Okay, that's good to know. You just have to build it and then see what happens. Okay, so when you have your shift, you set what position it is, and then let's look at the pattern first. It really is just saying what day of the week. And then when you add it to a template, the idea is that you will have a shift for Saturday and Sunday on a recurring basis. So the start time, the shift will begin at 11 o'clock. Oh, my hand is up. Jeez. 11 o'clock for 6 hours. One thing that's really cool about shifts, and I thought it would be on the shift template, but it's really only the shift. So let's check the page layout actually. There's a special field that shifts have, and it's called territory time versus local time. It's on the shift record. It's not on the template. I'll show you guys that in a second. So once this is created. So once you have this template, you're setting the time that it's going to start and the duration. And then there should be, you can even set a record set filter criteria to help determine this only applies to these type of resources. So this is an additional thing that we could layer in, but let's not go there yet. Let's just stick with the field thing. So if I'm going to create this, I'll assign this shift template. So let's go to shifts. Oh no. And I'll create a new from template. And it's the floor. And we'll start it. I'm going to start it here. And then I'll set the end time to be, we'll just say until the end of the year for kicks. And then the status is tentative, territory San Francisco, and I have to select the resource. So that was Harry Long. So we could say that it's, I don't know if that matters. Let's just go with this. Okay. And then we'll hit save. The templates should create for him every single weekend. Did I press save? Thinking about it.
I think one thing, this sort of the interplay between the status and the resource. Like you can make a shift that someone can say, I want to do that one. Or you can get candidates for shifts. And having left it as tentative, I don't know that it's actually going to show up for him yet. I think you have to do, or he has to confirm it. Yeah, there you go.
Yeah. So this is interesting. This is not what I expected.
The times of day or?
Because
so you named him and it said
I've created a whole long shift.
But the pattern, maybe the pattern is Oh, you've said it. One shift that goes that many days.
I'm deleting it. We're going to do it one more time. That was random. Hold on. Deleting. Singular shift that lasted that long. So what did I do? Okay, so we'll do this. Right. So the end time. I thought that this was the end of the actual pattern. You know what I mean?
Well, I think if
Okay,
it's
let's do it one more time.
I think if it's from the template has those entries, like I'm making it and it's starting this day or whatever. I don't.
Yeah. It's weird. Do I need to do it from the pattern instead of the template? So there we go. There's the dyslexia again. On call. So let's try on call. It is from a pattern. So then what's the point of a template then? Interesting.
So I guess if there's a $64 question about this, they show up here in this shift UI. They're this color. They show up on him, but he won't get the availability for them until they are confirmed.
Still, let's refresh. Yeah, it won't until it's, but that's still weird. Why did it create like that? What does the shift pattern look like? Let's see it again. The shift pattern for on call. Oh, I see. This shift pattern. So wait, what's the difference between template and patterns? Don't use templates? I thought that was
the conclusion I came to, but I'm so novice that I was just like, I don't understand templates. But the patterns.
That's what we said here. Okay, resource availability. Let's see what we've got here. Okay. I'm going backwards. This is designated work. Okay. Block of time, shift face availability. Fine. Ad hoc work. We know that. Okay. Use case. Employees available is not defined as recurring, or we're adding ad hoc. So we all agree that these are the two use cases. This just validates. But shift management schedule view. Okay. We get that. We create, assign, and manage shifts. We've got a week view of shifts. We have create multiple list views and functionality. Like this schedule view is great. This is the data model. This is what a shift record looks like. Multi-day shifts. Okay, so somehow it seems like the duration of on-call just must have been like almost 24 hours. So it says 12 a.m. to 12 a.m. Even though 24 hours aren't supported, although the UI shows the availability. So that's interesting. So you can have shifts that span multiple days. Okay, hover actions, that's fine. Shift style layout.
Is it like this? The pattern can be made up of templates. Just think, we move the circus to a different town every week. And when we're setting up the circus, we need 2 days of cleaning the field and 2 days of setting the stakes and 2 days of hoisting the tent. And so the pattern pattern includes the templates, but the templates are a day of this, a day of that, a day of that. They're composed into the pattern that says new Circus set up in town A. Now use that template again next time you go to town B.
And
it will compose them and arrange 2 people to do this, 4 people to do that, from which you can derive, well, who's going to be a candidate, who's with us in that area, who wants to do this work, who wants the overnight, who's available and matches the stuff you didn't want to get into, like the job profile and the selection rules. And who do you approve to take that shift?
okay, let's look at this pattern again. Let's finalize pattern. So it does create the collection of appointments based off of the defined pattern, day position, and then we've got, just the duration of the template. So the templates are added to the pattern. Afternoon shift, morning shift. So the pattern entry must be, let's look at pattern entry again to see if it's a junction between templates and patterns. Okay, so it creates. So let's look at this. Maximum of 2,000 shifts can be created at one time. Okay. When you select a resource, all shifts will be assigned to that one person. That person also needs to have a territory member for that selected territory for the duration. So if, for example, we tried to say Harry Long is a service territory member for the rest of the year, then I'll be able to create shifts for him in San Francisco for the rest of the year. But if for some reason my territory member ends in August because he's going to go to Florida for hurricane season, because there's a lot of work that needs to be done in that area, not because it's a vacation spot, but we've got service there that we need to do, then I won't be able to create shifts for him. I will get an error because his service territory membership ends on that day. You'll get an error saying this resource isn't available or there's no membership assigned to this person during this time frame. So that should be considered in here. I don't know. I guess inactive template, interesting. Okay, we'll get into designated shifts like later. That's just another advanced thing. Okay, so let's go back and see, because they're not even really talking about templates here. So if we're working with patterns, I've got on call. So if I just say, let's just call it every other day. And I'll make it active and we'll make it 7 for 7 days a week. And then related, I will have pattern entries, day position 1, using a template. So I could use the template weekend shift floor. Okay, so what is going to be interesting, I want to see, is that one was weekend position, but I said day 1 being Monday. So let's see what happens, because we saw that the template itself, it actually doesn't say what day of the week. Okay, cool. This is just the time.
Is it possible that the day 1 is like the day you chose? Like when you go to the calendar and say, make a shift from this template or pattern, and you're choosing start here, it means that day.
Good question. We're going to find out.
It could even go out like 8, 9, 10 days, your pattern.
Okay. Let's just check. So maybe I should change the name to be Monday, Wednesday, Friday, or something like that. So let's rename it and we'll call it edit Monday, Wednesday, Friday. Save. Because I said the pattern is 7 days. So let's see what we get with this one. Let's go to shifts. I created a whole bunch of shifts for Harry Long. New from pattern. Monday, Wednesday, Friday. We're going to assign it to Alan Reed. And we're going to start it on the 15th. And let's just see, because today's 15, right? Yeah. And again, maybe we won't go so far because then I'll have way too much data. San Francisco, and we'll assign it to Alan Reed. Okay. Day 1 is the day that you start your pattern from. Way to go, Bruce. So it's not Monday, Wednesday, Friday. It's the day I create the pattern or I launch it, then day 1 is that day. So now it's every other day.
Or in relation to that, I suppose if you
Correct.
always create them on Saturdays and you want the thing to be Mondays onward, maybe create your pattern that it starts on day 3 or whatever, but proceed cautiously.
Proceed cautiously. So you're using these patterns, Kelsey?
Yeah. Yep.
All right. So there's my Monday, Wednesday, Friday because I started the pattern to be Monday, Wednesday, Friday. Okay. So that's shifts. Now, like Bruce said a few moments ago, we don't actually see the white space open up until we change the status of the shift to be confirmed. If, for example, like we just saw, like I assigned shifts to Gloria Barnes and Alan Reed, they already have white space. So when I confirm them all, we're not going to see any change to their white space because they were already available. So it only adds availability to the operating hours. It doesn't do anything else. So let's get into changing the status. So if I change my view to table, I'm just going to mass change all of this to confirmed. I don't know what the difference between confirmed and published is, but yeah, go ahead.
I think visibility wise, tentative, I think that's like for the dispatch team, right? We're working on it. We're thinking about it. I think published, again, if there's not a name associated, someone could volunteer or they could see that they're, when are we working next week? Gee, I'd like the overtime shift. And I think that confirmed, right, that can be a process. Do they somehow accept it? And then you have final word to mark it as confirmed through an approval. So I think it's
right.
Like tentative is internal, published means we're letting people know. It could be contractors too, right?
Mm-hmm.
Who see you want some work at a given time. And then confirmed is that's who and that's when, and we all agree.
Yeah. Oh, but look at what happened. Alan Reed was assigned these shifts and it did enhance it. It made them yellow to show that it was this shift work. I didn't expect that to happen to him.
Did confirming it, and you had Harry as the named resource on all of them?
No, I only confirmed and looks like, oh, here's Harry's confirmed. So why? Oh, because I did the December ones first.
Oh.
This one does. Let's see if I can filter for Harry. No, I can't filter for the person's name.
that you could sort or make a list view that's just Harry's shift.
Yeah. But I scroll down enough. I don't know why that one doesn't have a on call, but that's okay. Where's the status? Right here. Lord. So pre-creating all of the shifts based off of a template helps with the volume. Do you happen to have those kind of patterns though? Kelsey, does your business have certain patterns where it's Monday, Wednesday, Friday, or it's the morning shifts, afternoon shifts, things like that?
At the moment, probably not. Right now, the way they're scheduling everybody is a Teams chat. So I don't think they're that well organized yet.
Yeah.
But I think they would be open to being that well organized. So
Yeah. I think it's a cool thing to have some sort of structure. I had one man, again, I'm like using Starbucks as an example because at the last time I worked on a shift kind of thing. And so it's not a really absolutely great use case, but I had one manager who really liked templated schedules. So there was one option where it was just based off of the volumes of the store, but then he preferred giving us as employees just a more fixed schedule. So if you're opening, you know that you're either doing a 4 or an 8. And if you're midday, then you're doing an 8 and you're likely starting at 10:30. He structured it in a pattern so we anticipated, or are you opening? You know what your day's going to be. And if you're closing, you're going to start at 3. It was nice to have that kind of stability, especially when I don't know if I'm going to be working on Monday or not, but I know that if I do, it's either going to be 6 a.m. or 3 p.m. It just gave a little bit of some sort of structure to already an unstructured schedule. But sometimes you can't because it's based off of demand. It'd be interesting to see how far out in advance they do schedule. And if they do pre-create the shifts, and Bruce was saying, they're all published and it's a who wants this shift and how many hours you have, you can select up to whatever it is. And you can pick up extra shifts or rotate them out, things like that. So it's definitely an interesting way to define availability. So now one of the things that I wanted to confirm though was book appointment. So when you're using book appointment, how is the operating hours impacting? So let's open that operating hours because we heard a rumor that it's not supported and I don't like that answer. So I'm going to just
the get candidates button.
get
Yeah.
candidates. Okay, let's just see. Okay, just generally get candidates always should show each day, but only the beginning of their shift, I thought. Okay, let me just duplicate this. Just because
Can you state
I'm
what
just
is the rumor thing that's not supported?
get candidates doesn't support shifts.
And candidates doesn't support you. So if the only availability afforded to anyone in the territory is via shifts, and there's 50 people and they're all available, but you go to that day and you do get candidates, if the only availability that came in is from shifts, it'll say, sorry, no candidates. That's what you're saying. Okay.
Yeah. I don't believe it. First, let's make sure that Harry Long is our friend and that we are able to schedule stuff to him. So, break fix. I don't know. I'm not putting an address, so let's see if this is going to be a thing. So are you experiencing like Harry Long isn't showing up at all, Kelsea? Like he's just not there?
Yeah.
Did you work around with any of the other advanced stuff that Leigh-Anne didn't touch on, like job profile or record set filter criteria on the shifts?
No, I'm
He's
so new
there.
to all of this.
Yeah. Like he's there. I don't get it. If you're seeing this is whiteface, right? I've got availability for him. So I don't get it. Why wouldn't it be? Let's just choose a different day, right? Harry Long. Yeah, I've got availability 15, 16, 17 at 10 p.m. It's a random time to start, but I guess that's the shift that I created. Like, why wouldn't it be an available resource?
And I don't see get candidates mentioned in the considerations for shift.
Yeah.
And I pasted a link to that.
I think Salesforce is lying to me.
Yeah. So it'd be interesting to see what your experience is, right? What are you actually seeing? So what I'm hoping here is that, okay, good. Yeah. Yes, go ahead.
There is something
Okay.
about secondary memberships perhaps are not necessarily supported, but considered. Last link I just posted in the chat. If you're not using ESO, when you schedule designated shifts for secondary territories, use optimization rather than scheduling operations. Scheduling operations such as book appointment or get candidates don't consider designated shifts with secondary service territories.
Are they secondary service territory members that you have, Kelsea? Do you know? Or more importantly, when you are trying to get a candidate,
Are you using a match territory versus working territories?
yeah, are you that resource that you expect to schedule? I would just look at the related records that are associated to that guy, right? Do they have the right skills? Is it something else, maybe?
Or do the open drag drop to them and see why it barks at you?
I will try that. If he does have a secondary territory membership, but it's not the territory that I've set on the work order, and it's not the territory that I've set like in his shift. And honestly, I could delete that territory membership if that would make this work, because his secondary territory doesn't really matter.
Yeah, if it doesn't really matter. So the best thing that I would suggest is, go to the service appointment, go to your dispatcher console, search up that SA, and then drag and drop it to the guy you thought would be a good candidate, and then let the work rule violations tell you what's wrong.
Yeah, the only other thing that I heard what you were saying, you said the territory on the work order and the territory on the membership, but what drives how you can schedule is really the territory on the appointment. So if that's set a different way, like by polygons, it may be setting to something that they're not involved in at all.
Yeah. So take a look at the service appointment territory and the territory membership of your resource. Wait, are you pre-creating the service appointments, or are there no service appointments and there's only a work order?
It's automatically creating a
Okay.
service
Mhm.
appointment.
Yeah.
Okay, I just did the check rules. I'll check what it says.
Okay. Perfect.
The service appointment is scheduled outside of the resource's working hours, but they have a shift.
Yeah, like it's white space, you're saying.
Yeah.
And the shift is
Mm.
confirmed?
You saw white space. That's messed up.
How about the travel for it? It wouldn't, like where
Is travel being calculated?
where you've dragged it on your Gantt, is there a travel whisker on that essay?
Not that I'm seeing. Would that be like literally like the whiskers on the edge of her boxes on the screen?
Yeah, like that
Mhm.
tiny
Yeah,
little,
there's nothing.
and there's addresses on everything. Essay and the STM.
Yes.
Yeah.
Maybe not on the member, actually. I can check the
But
member.
for the territory, it's either one or the other. It's ideal to have it on the territory member, but if you don't, it'll inherit the service territory.
If you put one there, and if that's got a lat lock, yeah.
Exactly. Yeah.
I'm glad I saw it work for you. That like at least has calmed down the issue, right? Like I don't have to
Yeah.
go to anybody and say it's impossible. So at least
There's
it's fixable.
Yeah, there's something in your work rules. And I've got some weird thing going on in my work rules where I've got in my customer first one, I broke something with my dates, saying that my rule violation is time rule. The service appointment must be scheduled according to its time and date properties. So I don't know what the heck that means, but it has nothing to do with availability of when the resource is available, but it's related to my service appointment. So something tells me I did my classic dyslexia thing I did before versus after or whatever on the earliest start or due date or something. Who knows what I did, but I broke one rule. So I created a brand new rule and I have no issue. Oh. Yeah, so there
Well,
could be
thank you
something.
for-
Yeah, you're welcome. It's probably related to a policy, but then maybe that'll be some fun puzzle for Melissa. When she joins.
Yes, I really hope that I have it fixed before she starts.
Yeah, so it's definitely supported.
Yeah.
Just
I think that was my biggest concern is that I'd have to go and say, hey, just kidding. This isn't possible.
yeah,
That's never
it
fun.
should be. But there could be some policy again related to maybe a secondary territory that could be causing the issue. So it's matched territory versus working territories, something like that. I don't know.
Yeah. That makes sense.
Oh. Okay, so that's good enough for now. Definitely, I always have these false starts with shifts. So glad we were able to muddle our way through and then end on a high note. And I definitely want to take some of this information that we had in this deck and just put it in do a more formal session maybe around shifts, because we are seeing people use shifts a lot. We have seen some people say that there are shifts that are dedicated to a specific resource. Like they work always Monday to Friday, 7 to 3. And that's theirs. And then someone else, they're always 10 to 4. And it's Tuesdays to Thursdays. And that's their operating hours. So we've seen some people create hundreds of operating hours, one for every service resource, because that's their availability as opposed to using shifts. But again, because it was a repeatable thing that was all the time, they're always Tuesday to Thursdays to 4. So if you can help it, operating hours is great because you're really only dealing with one record for each resource, shift patterns and shift templates and shift records. You're constantly having to remember to create a shift. And then you're thinking about patterns anyway. So, there's definitely a process around which records to create.
Yeah, and I guess if it's fairly cookie cutter, but somewhat ad hoc, let's say everybody gets half a day off a week. For you, it's Tuesday mornings. For the summer, for me, it's Friday afternoons. In the winter or whatever. You could still do that with op hours, right? With a recurring resource absence. It's just they had a bug with recurring absences that they didn't get the address set on them. So if that mattered for travel, you might want to set that yourself. But yeah, you could have a fairly blanket vanilla op hours and still do some things ad hoc by carving the week out with absences that are specific to each resource. Make their work week look right according to their individuality without adopting shifts.
Yeah, that would be a good question. Think about shifts as adding white space and absences as removing that white space. And really it's just, is it for this one person and they're just always not available on Mondays? Then maybe just give them operating hours with a recurring absence of Mondays. So that might be a lot easier than creating a custom operating hours. I don't know. But again, that's a designer's decision. You can do, I guess there's multiple ways of doing the same thing. Yeah, so this recurring absence now exists. And you do non-availability and just like you can create a type that's just off or not working. Something like that. But Bruce, you were saying that this address didn't get populated across?
Yeah, that is what we found, and we got burned by that. If you make the address and say, so once you make recurring absences using this, after it makes all the recurrences, nothing in the system knows that recurrence was made from this process. And if they're missing the address and they're all supposed to get the same address, that's a problem. So we had to develop something custom that said, okay, I think the type, as you pointed out, it's not vacation, it's not this or that. And maybe it was like recurring trip home, something like that. Mm-hmm. And when we set it at that type, we knew to go get the address to use from somewhere else on the resource. Like it was literally their trip home. So they all started at the depot and at night they wanted to go home. We made it recur. So you do this every day at the end of my shift, but the address didn't go. So we did have to customize. I don't know if they fixed that bug, but if where it is matters to you and you enter occurrence, go look afterwards and make sure the addresses are on there. And if they're not, go open a support ticket. It's great.
I fixed it. I had
you did what?
Yeah. Okay, so my operating hours were a little screwy, but also I had the shift set to extended on accident instead of normal. And that
his availability wasn't considered regular, so it couldn't put regular work in there, or it didn't. Okay, cool.
Yeah.
That's the high note.
In the nick of time.
Exactly. What a way to end it. That's what we're here for. So there you go. You wanted it to be solved before Melissa joined. And so there you go. There's a little gift for everybody. Love it. Yeah.
Oh my God. Thank you guys. Everything makes more sense. And also seeing you fight through the same spots that I fought through. Okay, it's not just me. So thank you.
That's comforting. Thank you for making me feel better about my inefficiencies. But that's what we're here for. We are not afraid to make mistakes. We bump up against things. We validate things with the articles, and we just muddle through it until we solve the problem. Awesome session today. Thank you, everybody, for joining. We will see you again next week.
Yeah, bye.
Bye.